Hello everyone, myself Dr. Radhika Mehta, Associate Professor from Jagan Nath University, Jaipur. Let's have an overview of the subject Print Journalism, MAJMC 204. So first of all, I would like to talk about the course credits. It's of 4 credits, and if I talk about the category, it's the core subject, and it is from semester 1. Now, what you will understand, what are the course objectives of this subject? First of all, it's about introducing students to skill of writing for the print media. Now, when we talk about what the subject is all about, so print journalism basically focuses on the print media, and we'll be understanding from A to Z about this subject, starting from the writing, then collecting information, then, in fact, how to frame the news stories, from where we get the news stories, and ultimately understanding how to write a complete news story. Second objective is to introduce students to specialized reporting skills and reporting analysis. So this subject will be talking about the specialized reporting skills which every student, a student who is understanding the subject print media, has to even understand the second step, that is about how to collect information, what kind of reporting skills are required when you are reporting a news story, and ultimately how to analyze the report that you have finally made. Next is to acquaint the students with new age, new room operations. So it's about that now, as we are heading towards digitalization and we are heading towards applications, mobile applications, we are more into social media. So basically, print media is not limited to the physical newspaper and a magazine, which comes in a broadsheet format, but now the students will also be learning that talking about the digital era, we how these newspapers are competing with the new age and how they are getting familiar with the digitalization and how they are stepping into this challenging world where still print media is surviving, and not even surviving, they are doing well, and print media has stepped into the social media and has become more powerful than ever. And lastly, to make them aware of newspaper design. See, when we talk about print journalism, as you see, looking at the objectives, we started with writing skills of print media. We talked about even students will be understanding specialized reporting skills and reporting analysis. So, looking at it, it's like you understood writing, students have understood reporting, and how to even step into the social media and this new challenging digital era. And after that, on the whole, students will be learning to make a newspaper as well. They will be understanding how to design a newspaper independently, both theoretically as well as practically. So these are the course objectives. Now, what's going to be the practical mode? In a practical mode, students will be taking these assignments: differentiate between reporting for newspapers, magazines, and news agencies. Also write the similarities among them. So this is going to be the first practical, where students will be reporting. They'll be differentiating that when you write for a newspaper, when you frame a story, when you report for a newspaper, altogether the format is very different in comparison to a magazine and a news agency. And there are many reasons behind it, as a newspaper is a daily periodical which costs very less, like maximum is rupees 10, and minimum somewhere it's rupees 3 to 4. When we talk about a magazine, so it's a periodical which somewhere minimum is weekly, and news agencies are altogether a very different format from which even newspapers and magazines take information. So, first of all, a student will be doing a differentiation between how to report a story for a newspaper, magazine, and news agency. Then they can also write the similarities among them. Why? Because ultimately they all are somewhere interconnected with each other. Like newspaper and magazines come under the tree of print media, and news agencies are the one of the strongest source for newspaper and magazine. So a student will be differentiating between reporting for newspaper, magazine, and news agency, and they'll be writing the similarity amongst them. Second, describe the working of a city newspaper of a daily. That means a student has to go for a local newspaper and basically need to understand that how these local, basically city is a local newspaper, and a local newspaper, how do they work, what kind of stories they cover, when it's about covering a town, a lane, a locality, a residential area, and every single lane is covered when you are talking about a city. So a student has to basically describe the working of a city newspaper of a daily. So, a newspaper that is circulated daily, but it has to be a local newspaper. Next is write various types of leads. So, first of all, what is a lead? A lead is basically the first paragraph of any news story, mainly hard news stories, is which consists of 5 W's and 1 H. So basically there are multiple types of leads, like how we can introduce a story. So a student has to write various types of leads. They can also add examples with the types of leads too. Now the next is report and file story for each of the beats. Like when we talk about the reporting beats, there are multiple reporting beats, and they are specialized reporting. So what the student has to do, student will be filing, basically the student has to report and file a story for each of the beat. So let's take the example of political. So the student has to pick any story which is related to politics. It can be about ministers, it can be about political parties, it can be about any recent action that's going on the government side. It can be some kind of elections going on, or a rally, or any kind of controversies, anything which is in relation with political topic, student can cover and can file story for it. Next is entertainment, which is basically related to the soft news stories. So it can be anything which is related to entertainment. It can be a culture, it can be music, it can be movies, it can be dance, it can be festivals, anything that comes in your mind which is related to entertainment. And so on for business, education, and crime. Now, the next is translate a news story from English to Hindi and vice versa. So, what basically you have to do is you need to pick a story, no matter. It can be, you can collect a newspaper, or you can even go for a website and you can go for it. And you need to find out a story. Start from one language, like pick an English news story and translate it exactly the same in Hindi story, and then vice versa. That means you need to pick a Hindi story and then you need to translate it in English. Next is rewrite any 5 photo captions and cut lines. This means this is basically related to photojournalism. So, what a student has to do, a student has to go for 5 photographs and they have to describe the photos in a form of cut lines and photo captions. Now, let's take a look on the next learning outcomes. So, ultimately, what a student will understand, what a student will learn after understanding this subject theoretically and practically. First of all, define print journalism and news. The student will describe techniques of reporting and writing for various beats. Explain the structure, working, and functions of a newsroom. Understand editing and designing of a print layout of newspaper and magazine. Now, understanding the LMS contents. So, LMS has 4 quadrants. So, the first quadrant is related to e-tutorials, which basically will include introductory video of the course, content videos, audios on each unit of your syllabi. So, e-tutorials are like introductory videos about each and every subject, and the content videos as well as the audios of each unit. So, looking at the units, it's like, as you all know, every subject is divided into 15 units. So, students will have the content videos of each and every unit, and in every unit, when you will see the e-tutorial of that unit, every single topic is covered in that e-tutorial. Now, looking at quadrant 2, that's e-content. It contains self-instructional material ebooks, web resources, research papers and journals, and other reference material. So, when you take a look on quadrant 2, it's basically that a proper material in a form of ebooks as well as web resources in a form of links of ebooks will be provided for the better understanding of the subject, so that the student can understand the subject thoroughly. In quadrant 3, it is the discussion forum for raising of doubts and clarifying them on a near real-time basis. So, how it will be done? It will be like different topics on emerging issues will be uploaded from time to time, and students will participate in discussions so that students can understand the subject in a better way with a healthy discussion. Lastly, the quadrant 4, which relates to assessment, which contains multiple choice questions, short questions, long questions, and this all will be uploaded unit wise at LMS. So it's like whether you talk about 1, 2, 3, or 4, everything will be available and uploaded time to time at LMS. Now let's understand the learning process. It's like relevance of the course. Pedagogical processes, we'll have live classes, assignments, quizzes, frequently asked questions, and clarifications on general misconceptions. A regular interaction will be there with students by these options of classes, assignments, quizzes, and frequently asked questions, so that there should not be any kind of confusion at students' part. There will be additional activities too. We'll be having master classes, lectures by industry experts and professionals. In fact, there will be case studies too. And we'll be updating activities as per the demand of the subject and looking at the requirement of the subject. Looking at the reference books, Louis James, The Active Reporter, Vikas Publication, Warner, Carl, Modern News Reporting, Harper and Row, Rangaswamy Parthasarathy, Basic Journalism, Macmillan, India, Saxena Sunil, Headlines and Writing, Sage Publication, TJS George, Editing, a Handbook for Journalists. So these are the reference books that can be consulted, that can be seen. You can have an overview, you can have a look on these books for a better understanding of the subject print journalism. That's all. Thank you, everyone.